We've got reporting now from the New York Times that JD Vance's trip to Islamabad, which at one time had reported to be already underway, this time yesterday, has been put on hold as Iran failed to respond to terms. Now, Iran had been playing pretty cagey with its opportunity or intentions to attend this next round of peace negotiations. It appears everyone for now, that includes Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, are staying right here in Washington.
Now, according to the official that the New York Times is citing in their reporting here, sourcing, they say the diplomatic process is paused, though the trip has not been canceled. So this isn't to say that it's completely off the books. They're just not going to send the Vice President of the United States, the second highest ranking official in the U.S. government, to talks at risk of him being stood up potentially by the Iranians. Of course, as you say, Joe, we're seeing market reaction to this, keeping in mind that the deadline is tomorrow evening. The ceasefire is set to expire evening time, Washington time, at least according to President Trump. And he told our colleague Jeff Mason just yesterday that it is highly unlikely he would extend it. So where does this leave us? Let's turn now to our political panel to try to get answers to some of these questions. Jeanne Zaino is with us, of course, Bloomberg Politics contributor, Democratic analyst, and democracy visiting fellow at Harvard Kennedy School's Ash Center, alongside Republican strategist Lanhee Chen, fellow in American Public Policy Studies at the Hoover Institution at Stanford University. Welcome to you both. Lanhee, just to begin with you on this notion that the vice president's trip, at least for now, is being paused or postponed, if not outright canceled to this point. Can they just simply not take the risk that he travels all the way to Pakistan and Iran doesn't show up to the table?
Clearly, there was some element of the discussion with Iran that had not been sort of fully resolved. And obviously, you don't want to send the vice president into a situation where there are significant elements of uncertainty about people showing up, about key elements of the negotiation that remain unresolved or certainly difficult to bridge. So I think this is a reflection more broadly, Kayleigh, of just how challenging this discussion is between the U.S. and Iran, how many things remain to be negotiated, and how hard it's going to be to see an end to resolution of this conflict. And I think that is the broader takeaway from the change in timing we're seeing here potentially.
Jeanne, I'm guessing that you're not surprised by this. You've been calling out the fact that Iran has not committed to another round of talks and questioned the assignment of JD Vance in this effort to begin with. If we get to this deadline tomorrow night and there's no deal, what's going to happen?
There's two options, essentially. Donald Trump does what he said he's going to do, which is escalate, bombing bridges, bombing civilian power plants, or he extends this ceasefire. And I think we all hope it's the latter. And of course, Donald Trump has been on all sides of everything. So I think it's a possibility. But, you know, I'm struck, Joe. He said today that the war is over, followed a couple seconds later by saying he's going to get a good deal. Then he said, no, it's going to be a great deal. Now, a lot of times in the U.S. and the West, when we hear the president's doublespeak, maybe it's because we're used to it, we chalk it up as being part and parcel of his efforts to quell the markets, to sort of assuage people on the markets, that everything's going to be okay. And that may work as far as the markets are concerned, but it does not work from a diplomatic standpoint. In Tehran, every time he says these things, they hearken back to Geneva, that last meeting when they were in the middle of negotiations and were bombed, or the meeting prior when they were in the middle of negotiations and bombed. These are being read in very different ways, all of these truths and all of these sort of off-the-cuff statements the president is making. And so I am not at all surprised that Iran is not going to Islamabad. And let's also remember, there's another reason they're not going. They're not pushing to go into negotiations with the United States. Time is on their side. The longer this drags on, the better for Iran. And so all of that means that the president has to work very hard to get them to the table. They can't repeat what they did in that first round, where they come out of negotiations and the president says,